mentioned a story to the students yesterday in the Musalla. I thought I would repeat it. There are many lessons that can be derived from it. And while it may apply differently to our students, it can definitely apply in a different way to us. Once a man came to the Prophet ﷺ and requested him for some financial help. So someone in his family had apparently killed someone, and they had to pay the blood money. So as a family, they were trying to get together this money, kind of like in our context, people would get money for a bail. We got to bail somebody out, so okay, everyone's kind of pitching in, and they're scrambling, trying to find some means. So this person is trying to collect some blood money for their relative. He comes to the Prophet ﷺ, asks him for help. The Prophet ﷺ gives him something. He contributes something to that cause, but the man doesn't seem happy. He's still very unsatisfied. He's upset. So the Prophet ﷺ asked him, Have I done okay for you? Hal ahsantu ilayk? So the man said, No, you haven't. Wala ajmalt. You haven't been nice. You haven't done anything for me. Now this is happening in the masjid, so there are companions around. So it got very tense, and some companions got really upset, and they were about to kind of walk over and put the gentleman in his place. The Prophet ﷺ said, No, please stay back, step back. Then he tells this man, he says, why don't you come with me? So he walks the man over to his house, takes him inside his house, and he gives him some more money. He said, how's that? Now have I done it right? Are you happy? He said, yes, I am so happy. May Allah reward you on behalf of myself, my family, and my whole tribe. Prophet ﷺ said, look, when you came to me in the masjid and I gave you something, your reaction was a little bit different. You responded differently. And my companions noticed that, and I suspect that they are not looking at you very favorably right now. They're probably really upset. And I don't want that. I don't want them to have this ill feeling towards you, or I don't want them to have this animosity, or every time they see you, they're like, oh, that's the guy who was disrespectful to the Prophet. So I have one suggestion. Why don't we go outside, and these same words that you said, just expressing your happiness, why don't you go outside and say those words in front of everyone, so then the anger can disappear. So he said, sure. So the Prophet ﷺ called the Sahaba. They're still there in the masjid. He called them around. He said, look, this man came up to me. I gave him something. He wasn't happy. He was displeased. Then I took him inside my house. I gave him a little bit more, and now he says he's happy. And the man said in front of everyone, yes, I'm very happy. May Allah reward you on behalf of me, my family, my whole tribe. We're all very, very happy, for what you've done for us. So the companions were, the situation was sort of diffused, and that tension, it went away. Then the Prophet ﷺ gave them an example. He said, my example with this fellow is like someone whose camel has all of a sudden bolted away. And when the camel runs away, everyone's like, oh no, camels escaped. So everyone starts chasing after it, catch the camel. But the more they chase after the camel, the further it runs away. And the more tricks they use to trap it, the more it feels fenced in, and it starts panicking. So this man tells everyone, okay, everyone please go away. Please step back. Let me sort out the camel. I know how to deal with my camel. I know what it will take. So the first thing is he gets everyone out of the way, and then he collects some food, and from a distance he shows the camel the food, and he speaks to the camel in the way the camel has been used to hearing him. So very gradually, slowly, the camel hesitatingly comes back to its owner, and Then he puts the reins back on it and puts the saddle back on it, gets on top and rides away. He says that the Prophet ﷺ said that if I had let you have your way with him, maybe your intentions were good. You wanted to put him in his place because he was being rude to the Prophet of Allah. But if you had done that, you would have only chased him further away from Deen. And if I had let you do that, then this man would have been ruined. This man would have been completely ruined. So the Prophet ﷺ taught us many, many things through the incident that happened, and then through the example that he gave afterwards. So one thing that we learn is that the Prophet ﷺ didn't like to create an environment where it was some people against some people. He did not want people to have ill feelings in their heart for anyone, even if the matter was related to him. He wanted people to have clean hearts. He did not want people feeling that they had something against someone, or they had an agenda, they had a vendetta against someone. And whenever he saw the opportunity to diffuse that situation, he diffused it, took the matter into his own hands. Even though in this case the Prophet ﷺ himself was insulted, but he took the man inside, he offered him something, looked after him, made sure he was happy, and then sent him back. It could be that the Prophet ﷺ knew that this man right now is very, very desperate. The amount of money they must pay, it's a considerable amount, and he's under the gun right now. If he doesn't collect that money, this relative of his is going to be killed in retaliation. So maybe he's stressed out, maybe he's like that. So looking beyond the moment, that maybe there's something happening with this person that I don't necessarily understand or know, but this is not normal behavior. Fine, it's unacceptable behavior, but I'm willing to give this person the benefit of the doubt. And then going out of his way to look after the needs of that person. And then making sure that there isn't an environment out there, because what could have very well happened is that the Prophet ﷺ is okay with him, and he's okay with the Prophet ﷺ, but the people outside hate this man. Nabi ﷺ saw that. He did not want that, because he knew that now every time this person comes into the masjid, or someone sees him, they're going to judge him, they're going to look down at him, they're going to be angry with him, and his life is going to get miserable, and that's not going to bring this person any closer to Deen or any closer to the mosque, it's not going to do this person any favors. So sometimes, for the sake of saving an individual, we have to go to great lengths. We have to really step out of our comfort zone to accommodate them. And when it is an environment like this is also a community of people that are working very closely together. It's important for us to keep the atmosphere clear. And it's also important for us to make sure that we don't set up people so that they're being looked down at, but rather whenever that happens, we should step in. Even if the matter involves us, we should not have this desire that, yes, let them take a shot at so-and-so, let them sort so-and-so out. It's going to make me feel good. I don't have to do anything. Other people will do it for me. That's not the approach that we have been taught. And it's not always easy to do, especially when you're on the receiving end. In this case, the Prophet ﷺ was on the receiving end of that rudeness. Sometimes we're on the receiving end of someone's rudeness. Those of our staff that are dealing with parents probably go through this every day when someone is mistreating them. Our brothers in the parking area were telling me how abusive some of the parents are. Like they're hurling obscenities at these brothers that are just trying to keep their kids safe and trying to control the traffic. They're using such dirty language, and this person is not standing there to be abused. Everyone has a sense of self-respect. It's a basic right of every human being that they be treated with respect. But they're doing that and people are trampling all over them. And literally, I think somebody almost got ran over because the parent was so angry that, no, I'm not going to listen to it. And yes, I'm going to rip through. So sometimes that'll happen. And it's not a good place to be. It's not a pleasant place to be. But when that does happen, what we have to set back on, what we have to lean on is each other. That there will be people around us that will be looking after us. There will be people around us that will be kind of in our corner, and they'll be making sure that, look, this does not escalate and go out of control. This does not become a battle. It does not become into something ugly. And the Prophet ﷺ was that person. He was doing that. Whenever he saw that, look, something is going to, some tensions are rising, look, let's finish this. And he would nip it in the bud. So those types of people are extremely, extremely valuable and precious. Somebody who can do that. And this is part of the troubleshooting that takes place whenever there are people working with people. So sometimes it's a matter of perception. Sometimes it's a matter of short-sightedness. Sometimes it's just a bad day. And as long as we know that we can get past it and we can put it behind us, and we're not going to let this become part of the environment. We're not going to let this, stick. We're not going to let this survive beyond this moment. As long as we have that attitude, then we can solve problems fairly quickly and efficiently and move on with our real business and our real work, which is education. So sometimes such an environment or such a situation may arise within our teams, and sometimes it may happen within the broader group. Sometimes it'll be within the community. In this case, in the example that I gave, it's a community problem. It's not people from here that are doing it. It's people that we're serving, people that we are providing education to. They're acting like this. But in every scenario, some of the most valuable and precious people to a team are not just those that can lead them forward to achieving new things, but those that can keep them together and maintain that sense of brotherhood or sisterhood or family or closeness or professionalism, kindness, whatever is required for that team to operate. And these are some very deep reflections. For the children, for the students, I used it in the context of excluding people. How the Prophet ﷺ didn't allow this man to be excluded or to be bullied, because it was very convenient for that to happen. That he would step back, that I've got my guys, they're going to step in and they're going to sort this guy out, and I remove myself from the equation. And that happens a lot within the students. Someone says something to someone else will come in, or a group of people will come in, and they'll start bullying and nagging at this student, making their life miserable. Or all of a sudden, this student is going to be excluded now from the group. You're not welcome anymore. You can't play with us. You can't hang around us. You can't sit by us. There's a lot of that happening. So I use it in that context to explain to them that this is not the Islamic way. This is not what the Prophet ﷺ allowed to happen, even though he was the one who was being hurt by the rude behavior. So those are some reflections. We often, when we end the week, we walk away with a lot of stuff on our minds. Sometimes the reel just keeps playing over and over again. It could be some unpleasant experience that we had, and it's just playing over and over again. Sometimes it's our frustration towards one person. Sometimes somebody has annoyed us. Could be a student or a parent or a colleague. But we must move on. We must move on. And we must put these things behind us. And we cannot allow these things to become a part of us. Yes, unpleasant circumstances will arise, and they will arise, regularly. We have to take that for granted, but the smart approach is to be ready for it and to not allow it to stick. And in that way, inshallah, we move together as a family, we move together as a group, we resolve our issues. Even within the best and the most closely knit families, there are disagreements. Even amongst those siblings that are very, very close together, sometimes there's very fierce disagreements and fights and arguments and all those things. But that closeness and their sincerity for one another, it manages to somehow bring them together again, and then they move on. So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also keep our hearts united and make us from those people that are, that are being inclusive and that are clearing the environment, clearing the cobwebs, and making life comfortable for ourselves and for other people. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين.